The Junior Church, John chapter 18 today. So not a typical Palm Sunday sermon, but I'm in the process of preaching through the book of John, and we just happen to be at the arrest of Jesus, which is Passion Week. John gives us so much information about the Last Supper and the evening of his betrayal. John 16, 17 don't appear in the other Gospels. John gives us so much more information about the last night and the crucifixion that it takes a lot longer. You can't preach through them in a couple of sermons unless you're just going to really barely ski top across the top of the Pikes Peak or something like that. So we are staying with the theme on Palm Sunday of John's good news. John wants to give us so much more information that the early church would not have had. The early church would have had Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Those books were finished by at the latest, the early 60s. John doesn't write his gospel until probably the early 80s to the early 90s. So John's gospel is a minimum of 20 years later. So Matthew, Mark, and Luke have been copied and copied and copied and copied and spread around. And now John comes on the scene and he says, yes, we have Matthew presenting Christ as king, Mark presenting him as the servant, Luke presenting him as the Son of God. John says, now I'm going to write to the whole world and write so that you will believe. I'm going to give you true witnesses to Christ so that you will believe. That's why it's called gospel or good news. This is why John, in his writing in his 5 books, remember, he writes John and then 4 short books. Well, 3 short books, and then Revelation is a longer book. But 3 short books, 1st, 2nd, 3rd John, and then Revelation. But the word witness